Okay, this is every character in HSR sorted into a list from favorite to least favorite. So let us play the HSR character sorter game. Okay, Dan Heng, but I do love Himiko, but this is a tough one right off the bat. I am going to go with Dan Heng. Arlen Kalis. Yeah, we're gonna have every type of Trailblazer. I'm gonna choose Kalis. It's gonna be weird ranking Trailblazers against each other. I guess it's just gonna come down to the vibe, like Preservation Trailblazer versus Harmony Trailblazer. Oh, it's the baby versus the baby. Now listen, Pitch Dark Hook the Great is great, obviously. But for those who don't know, my favorite character from Fate Stay Night, who was not in the collab, and I was sad that they were not a collab character, but my favorite Fate character is Ilya Sviel. And Clara and Svarog are based on Ilya and Berserker, so I gotta go Clara. She's just too Ilya coded for me not to love her. Yanqing versus Qingtui. I do love my gambling gremlin, but Yanqing is... I'm a huge Yanqing fan. I've always been a big Yanqing fan, and I became even more of a fan of Yanqing during the War Dance arc in the Shenzhou. He was basically the shonen protagonist of that arc. Yeah, he just gives big shonen protagonist vibes to me. Not that I'm a huge shonen fan particularly, but I like the vibes of it, so it's Yanqing for me. Zila versus Jing Yuan. The battle of the 1.0 limited 5 stars. It is Jing Yuan for me. I skipped Zila for Jing Yuan, so like, how can I not choose Jing Yuan? This was my first 5-star instead of Zila when I started the game. Now we have the battle between the Stellaron Hunters. This one's pretty tough. I like them both, and it's probably Blade. Again, you look at my pulls. I skipped Kafka. I pulled Blade. I'll probably pick Blade here, but I do like Kafka. Kafka can beat some others. Just probably not Blade. Hanya versus Ranmei. Oh, I actually really like Hanya. To be honest, the character archetype in terms of personality, they're both very reserved women. It's not fully my thing, the reserved character archetype. If it just came down to character design, I do like Hanya more than Ranmei in that department. But I think I just like Hanya more. Sparkle versus Misha. I pulled Sparkle, so I like Sparkle, but this is Mikhail. I think Misha himself in Penacony, I liked him fine enough. He wasn't anything special to me, but it was the Fate Stay Night story. When they brought Mikhail back, that really hit me in the feels when the Fate story ended with Mikhail's return. And that really endeared me more to Mikhail specifically. So I think I have to go with Misha for that reason. Boot Hill versus Robin. Now, here's an interesting one. I was never quite sold. I mean, oh my god. I was Bag, a fellow streamer and YouTuber, is going to kill me, like actually going to kill me, but I was never super endeared towards Boot Hill. He didn't really do much in the story. His gimmick of swearing with fake swear words, it was fun at first. It got a little old to me. I don't know, he just didn't do much. Character design isn't really for me either. Robin also, like, I'm fine with Robin. She wasn't a standout character for me by any means, but the 3.8 Penacony story gave Robin a lot more spice. We saw Robin getting a lot more aggressive in the recent 3.8 Penacony story, and I really liked seeing that side of her. So I think I'm probably gonna select Robin here over Boot Hill. I'm sorry to all the Boot Hill fans. This is nothing against Boot Hill. Like, I don't dislike him. He's just kind of there for me. So I'm gonna pick Robin here, and we're just gonna move on, and we're all gonna be okay with that. Now we have Yunli versus Jade. Screw Jade. Jade is the worst, but she's supposed to be the worst. So that's not like, I'm not saying Jade's a bad character. She's a very unlikable character, and she's unlikable in a way that is very unlikable to me specifically. I remember when the IPC agreed to create a vaccine against Iron Tomb's corruption at the end of the Amphoria story, and Jade was like, oh, but by the way, we're gonna monetize the vaccine, so not everyone can use it right away. And that just gives me the ick. That just rubs me the wrong way. That's kind of too real, you know? So it's gonna be Yunli. Yunli's fine. There are some things about Yunli that make me uncomfortable. It's not like Yunli's fault. It's the way Hoyo portrays the character in her animations. So she's not gonna be beating any top tiers, but I do still, I think Yunli's character is cute still. Oh look, it's a character who hasn't released yet. Rappa who? But Moza was the last 4-star we ever got. Moza ended the 4-star dynasty. I don't know how I feel about that, but just in terms of pure character, character. Okay, I should have probably prefaced with the fact that I skipped Rappa's story, the banana nana monkey story, whatever. I skipped all of that. It's the only story in the whole game that I completely lore skipped through. I just clicked through the whole thing. I was not playing through that. So like I don't really know Rappa like that. I don't know her very well. So it's kind of not fair to her. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Moza. Herta versus Stell. Ooh, Herta started out a bit rough in the Emphorius story. She was catching fraud allegations, but near the end of Emphorius, she really stepped up, and I ended up liking her a lot, especially during the epilogue of Emphorius, where Herta reveals that she like stored the data of the Chrysos heirs to help Emphorius regrow. I think I do probably like Herta more. Yeah, we gotta go with Herta. Oh, 3.2 character versus 3.2 character. Despite what some might think, I am not on the Casterus hate train. I appreciate Casterus' story for what it was. My awkward feelings about Casterus mainly centers around the fact that Casterus, she was not as relevant in the story compared to how relevant she is in the meta. And that felt a bit weird to me. Not that meta relevance needs to be tied to lore relevance, but it's more so that the amount that Hoyo tried to sell her and shill her felt disproportionate to how important she was to the game as a whole. That's mainly where any negative feelings for Casterus comes from me. Aside from that, I have no issues with Casterus. But Anaxa is my goat. I love Anaxa so much. He's probably gonna beat a lot of other characters. I wanted to get Anaxa Eidolons on his first rerun, but I didn't because I needed to save for Cyrene. And Anaxa Eidolons are a bit tragic. Like, they're not the best, but I might get them anyway, just to show how much I love him. And that's that alone is proof of how much I love him. So we are definitely picking Anaxa here. But I just wanted to explain that it wasn't because I have anything against Casterus. Now, here we go. Here's a tough one. We have the collab characters facing off against each other. I do love Saber. I've watched Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, and Fate Zero. I think I might lean Saber over Archer. It's neck and neck, though. Now, if Ilya and Berserker were here, they would be on top. But between Saber and Archer, I think I like Saber a bit more. Oh, Saridra versus Evernight. I did really like Evernight's story. I like that she's a simp for March. But Saridra is my Imperator. She supports Finon and Anaxa, my faves. And I thought Saridra was such a unique character for a Hoyo game. Evernight was too. Both of these characters are very unique in the fact that they are very morally ambiguous women, which I don't think Hoyo does enough of. Now, I know we just covered Jade, who is also morally ambiguous, and I hated, but it's because they're morally ambiguous in different ways, you know? Saridra's a tyrant, a larger-than-life tyrant, which is ironic because she's so tiny, she's so small, which is part of the contrast within her character. And Evernight wants to, like, eat the world. I don't know. She's a yandere, and we love that. But I've got to go with Saridra. I mean, Saridra was such a unique experience in the story. Seeing Hoyo actually go kind of all the way, like halfway, with making her almost completely unsympathetic. I really liked that about Saridra. We have the savior of Super Break versus the savior of the Chrysos heirs, Cyrene versus Dahlia. Now, I did have some issues with Cyrene near the end of the story. I think what they were going for with Demiurge carrying on Cyrene's memories is cool. Near the end of Emphorius, I felt like they were overcooking with Cyrene. Like, Cyrene has a lot of good aspects to her character, but at some point it felt like she was like a pool that was filled with too much water. Like, the pool was full with water and she was really good, but then they kept dumping more water into the pool. You know what I mean? They kept adding more stuff into the character, and I felt like there was already enough to make the character really good and really interesting. So that's what I mean when I say I felt like the character got overcooked a little bit, but I still like her. So I'll pick Cyrene here. Stell versus Kalis. Oh no. I mean, it's Kalis, but it's not because I don't like Stell. You know, I like both MCs and they're the same character. So it mostly just comes down to vibes and the way I vibe with their interactions with other characters. And for me, it's gonna have to be Kalis for me. Oh my god, it's the Astral Express crew against each other. Okay, there must be some sort of formula to how it pits characters against each other. This one's gonna be Dan Heng, but again, it's not because I dislike March. I don't know, Dan Heng and Kalis, their relationship is just very dear to me. March's relationship to them is also very dear to me. Don't get that twisted. But like, out of the main trio, the main two that I really love watching interact is Kalis and Dan Heng. Seeing the two of them alone together on Emphorius was very dear to me, so I'm gonna go with Dan Heng here. Okay, mom versus daughter. This one's more tough. The only problem for me with Himiko is kind of like Herta at the start start of Euphorius, wherein she's kind of catching fraud allegations. She doesn't really do much, you know? And like, there's nothing wrong with Himiko's character being more focused around diplomacy, right? It's fine that she doesn't get out in the field, but she just doesn't have many moments that stand out to me. March has way more spotlight in the story, of course, and March has the more fun personality, but I'm gonna have to go with the daughter here instead of the mom. Oh, the sibling, Serval versus Japard. Listen, Serval is great. Serval is super cool, and fun fact, before the game even came out, like before Honkai Star Rail officially released and when it was only in the beta phase, I looked at all of the individual characters in the beta, and I thought Serval was a 5-star because of how much I liked her design. But then we have Japard, and for those who don't know, Japard is the reason I started Honkai Star Rail. Again, bringing it back to the days before HSR released, when HSR was still in the beta phase, I was looking through the game's characters, I saw Japard, and that was what convinced me to play the game. Single-handedly. It wasn't the gameplay or anything like that. It was only Japard. And so when I started my Honkai Star Rail journey, I actually re-rolled my accounts to make sure I started the game with Japard as my first 5-star. So with all that said, needless to say, Japard will always have a special place for me. I love him so much. He is the reason I'm here playing Honkai Star Rail, so I gotta give it to Japard. Sampo versus Yanqing. It's gonna be Yanqing. I am not one of the Sampo enjoyers. I'm not necessarily a Sampo hater either. Like, I don't have anything against Sampo. He's kind of whatever for me. So I'm gonna go Yanqing here fairly easily. Silverwolf versus Luocha. Okay, I pulled for Luocha on his first banner, and I skipped Silverwolf on her first banner because they came out together. Luocha's kind of a nothing character, I'm gonna be honest. he doesn't do anything. It's like, I'm just waiting perpetually for him to have any story relevance. Like, you're a twin of Void Archives, you're an auto-apocalypse XP, but you don't do anything. We just haven't seen his arc yet. I'm not convinced the arc even exists. I'm not convinced they're ever gonna do anything with this character. So I pulled him because I was very intrigued by him. That intrigue is gone. I no longer really care about his story at this point. It's a little too late to get me to care about him again. And to be honest, his character design is kind of just a worse version of Auto Apocalypse. Auto from Honkai Impact 3rd kind of just looks better than him. And Silverwolf has a bit more of a fun personality. So I'm gonna go with Silverwolf. I'm kind of off the Luocha train. Aventurine versus Acheron. I'm a big fan of Acheron. I thought Acheron was really unique for a Hoyo main push character. You look at Euphorius with Casterus and Cyrene. When Hoyo is trying to push a female character to sell, oftentimes they end up pushing that character into being shipped with the Trailblazer. To be clear, I don't have anything against that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or a good thing, but I'm just saying that it's a thing that Hoyo does. It's fine that they do it, but looking back on Acheron's story, I really like that they never took that direction with Acheron. I never at any point feel like they tried pushing Acheron as like a romance interest for the Trailblazer. With all of that said, Aventurine is my goat. Aventurine was my first big main love of the game after Japard. Like, I started the game for Japard, and then I liked a lot of characters throughout the 1.x patches, but nobody really stood out to me until Aventurine. So as much as I like Acheron, it's just an impossible matchup for her. It's Aventurine. I gotta go with Aventurine. We have Firefly versus Yunli. So I have a complicated relationship with Firefly. I don't have anything against the waifu baiting, love interest pushing that they do with Firefly in and of itself. Just to be clear, just to get that out of the way. Conceptually, I don't have an issue with it. I do have an issue with how it was executed. The way I describe my issues with Firefly's story, mainly the Firefly romance, is that it feels like they want Firefly to be the new girlfriend that we're meeting, which Firefly herself states. Firefly says she doesn't want her past with the Trailblazer to dictate our relationship in the present. And you definitely feel that because they don't do a good job of making Firefly and Trailblazer feel like they have a past. And that's by design, because Firefly specifically does not want their past together to influence their current relationship. However, it does at the same time feel like the story is leaning on the fact that they have past history in order to justify how fast their relationship moves. So my issue with the romance is it tries to have its cake and eat it too. It wants the relationship to feel fresh and new because Firefly wants the relationship to not be dictated by their past. But at the same time, the speed at which the relationship progresses inherently relies on their past history, which the game does not do a good job of establishing because Firefly doesn't want to establish it. So they're trying to do both. They're trying to have the best of both worlds, and it kind of clashes for me. And Firefly's romance ends up not really working for me. The patch 3.8 Euphoria story doesn't really fix that for me, unfortunately. But what the recent Euphoria story did fix for me was it leaned into Firefly's past as a Glamoth soldier more, and that helped her more in that regard. But then like we end the story, pushing the romance more again. And again, I don't have an issue with that in theory. I have an issue with the execution of it. So yeah, all of that kind of to say I'm probably gonna pick Yunli. It's not because I particularly love Yunli way more than Firefly. I think Firefly does have things going for her, and I don't think Firefly is gonna be in last place. I'll say that now. I think Firefly has enough going for her with the Sam side of her storyline that the romance probably isn't going to drag her down to last place. Maybe. we'll see. But I'm gonna pick Yunli here. We'll see how things develop for Firefly. Firefly versus Jade. Wait, this is an early one because Firefly is probably winning this. I think Jade being very unsympathetic is interesting and unique for her character. I want to get that out of the way first. It's just the way in which Jade is unsympathetic, right? Like, I love me some unsympathetic characters. The whole reason I love Saridra is because she's unsympathetic. If Saridra was more sympathetic, I would like her less. So my issue with Jade isn't that Jade is villainous. My issue with Jade is the way in which she's villainous. She just rubs me the wrong way. So we're gonna go with Firefly here. Moza versus Lingsha. I have beef with Lingsha. Lingsha is like the #1 story fraud where like she released and had zero impact in the story. I could barely remember anything she did in the story because she probably didn't do anything. She ambushed that one Vidyadhara guy with Danhung, but other than that, she had no presence in the story. And I have beef with her character design because she's a Vidyadhara, but she has no dragon aspects to her character design. Now I understand that only the elder Vidyadhara or only the more powerful Vidyadhara have dragon aspects to their design. So like lore-wise, it makes sense that Lingsha doesn't have any dragon features. But like, just change the lore. I don't know. Just make your lore different. Just make your world building different so that your dragon girl can have a more interesting character design. I don't like that they justify her having a boring design for her character background. I wish she had a more interesting design for what she was. Like, if she wasn't a dragon girl, if she wasn't a Vidyadhara and she was just a regular girl, the design would be better. The design is worse because she's a Vidyadhara. So we're going with Moza. It's the character whose story I skipped versus the character who didn't have any story to skip. With all that said, it's probably Rappa for me, just because all the beef I have with Lingsha that I previously discussed. Fugue versus Sunday, they came out in the same patch. It's gonna be Sunday for me. Fugue's story is interesting, but I think it's not as interesting as it could have been because we don't really do much with it. Sunday's an interesting one, right? Because Sunday is great throughout all of Penacony, and his character development into leaving Penacony is really interesting. The parallel or contrasting character arc that he's on with Robin is really interesting, where Robin is the one who believes in flying free, but Robin ends up caged to Penacony because she has to clean up after Sunday's mess. Meanwhile, Sunday is the one who like caged himself down to Penacony, but because of circumstances, he ends up being the one to fly free and roam the world. So that contrast between the siblings is really interesting for both of their character arcs. Obviously, my issue with Sunday is that he has done nothing since joining the Express, and that's not Sunday's fault. It's just very, very weird writing by Hoyo to make Sunday leave Penacony and then do nothing while he's part of the Express. And that might dock some points away from Sunday, but not enough in this matchup for him to lose. He's still winning here, but we'll see how much that affects him in future matchups. Aglaya versus Tribby. I love them both. See you tomorrow, Tribby. As much as I love Tribby, Aglaya probably is my favorite female character in the whole game. Aglaya is like, she's very sympathetic, but she does have a bit of cutthroat to her, which I like. And her character design is the best out of all the female characters in the game. So we're picking Aglaya here. Oh, Anaxa versus Mighty. Listen, Finon has 2 hands, but if Finon could only have 1 hand, Mighty's great. Mighty has a great character arc. Mighty's hot, and Mighty is very sympathetic in his character arc of breaking tradition for his people. I think there's a lot to love about Mighty. Character design is really good too. But Anaxa is my professor. I think personality-wise, Anaxa just has the personality archetype that I like more. Anaxa's more theatric is the best way to put it. He's a lot more eccentric, a lot more charismatic in that regard. And that type of character tends to draw me in more. And character design wise, I like Anaxa more as well. Yeah, he has the prettier design, whereas Mighty has the hotter design. And I guess I'm leaning towards the pretty boy over the hot boy in this case. Cause yeah, it is Anaxa for me. It's not a particularly hard decision. I really love Anaxa. I just wanted to explain my thought process consensus on why it's Anaxa over Mighty. Okay, Castris versus Mighty. It's gonna be Mighty for me. I like Mighty more. Hyacinth versus Cypher. Oh, this one's hard. I really do love Hyacinth. Going into the Amphoria story, I thought for sure Hyacinth would be my least favorite character. She looked like a pink Barbara from Genshin Impact, but throughout the course of Hyacinth's story, Hyacinth was like my adopted daughter throughout the whole story. But personality-wise, Cypher has the personality that I prefer, and Cypher's story was also really good. Her backstory with Aglaya was really tragic, and Cypher low-key carried the Crisis Air journey with her lie, and her voice acting is just really good too. So it's a tough matchup for sure. I'm probably gonna lean Cypher, but I just wanted to make sure it was understood that I do genuinely love Hyacinth. Oh, sorry, Saber, not close. Do I have to explain choosing Finon here? If you know me, if you know my channel, no one's beating Finon. Spoiler alert, Finon's #1. This is a fight for second place. Literally nobody is beating Finon, okay? Like, there's no reason to explain any of the Finon matchups. Finon is always winning, okay? Finon is the best character Hoyo has ever written, including HSR and Genshin Impact, like between all their games. Honkai Impact 3rd, you could argue some characters from Honkai Impact 3rd, like Kiana. I haven't fully experienced Honkai Impact 3rd, but I'm sure there are some great characters in there. I'm only talking about the games that I've personally played. So between HSR and Genshin, I think Finon is the best character Hoyo has ever written, and he has one of the best character designs. I mean, he's so hot. That I said it. Listen, this man genuinely does things to me. So it's gonna be Finon. Seredra versus Hyslins. It's Seredra. It's not particularly close. Hyslins is fine, and Hyslins' relationship with Seredra is the best part of her character. But I don't know, they were doing some other stuff with Hyslins, like pushing the relationship between Hyslins and Trailblazer, even though Hyslins barely knew the Trailblazer, and Hyslins' relationship with Seredra was more interesting. So there was some stuff with Hyslins that I wasn't a fan of in her story. Meanwhile, with Seredra, I mean, I've discussed all the things I love about Seredra. It's gonna be Seredra. Hyslins versus Evernight, it's gonna be Evernight for me. Cyrene versus Dahabata, Danhung PT. I talked about liking Cyrene, but Danhung is Danhung, and this is like his best character design out of all his iterations. Now, this version of his character design gets a lot of flack for not being different enough from his 4-star version. Me personally, I like his 4-star version's design, so the fact that it doesn't differ from it as much as Imbiber Lunai, I actually like that about Permancer Terai, because I like this design and the 4-star design more than Imbiber Lunai. So it's a plus side to me that he didn't change too much. He just got bigger, and bigger is always better. And bigger is always better. So we're gonna pick Danhung here. Oh no! Oh no! They're gonna make me pick my boys? Okay, ideally, you never separate these two. But if they're gonna force me to, it's just gonna come down to personality more and vibe more. And for me personally, I have a personal preference for characters that are more bright. Like, if we were to classify characters between, do they uplift people, or are they more of the quieter, sticking to themselves type? And I like the more uplifting characters more. So Kalis is much more my vibe, even though I love the both of them very, very much. And this is a very difficult decision, but it's probably gonna have to be Kalis for me. Oh, now I have to pick between my girls. Estelle is kind of more low-key than Kalis. Like, it's really interesting, honestly. We talk about Kalis and Danhung. In the Kalis-Danhung relationship, Kalis is the bright one, and Danhung is the more even-keeled one. It's somehow the opposite for March and Stell. Even though Stell and Kalis are the same person, Stell ends up taking the role of the more even-keeled one, and March ends up being the more uplifting one. It's really interesting, honestly. And for that reason, I'm gonna pick the uplifting one again, just because that's more my vibe. I'm gonna go with March, but I do love Stell, because I mean, that's the same character as Kalis. Luca versus Fuxuan, Fuxuan. Jingli versus Luca, Jingliu. I don't have very strong feelings for Luca, honestly. Can I say something? The Pearls Light Cone low-key catfished us, because Luca looks so much better in the Pearls Light Cone than he does like actual Luca in-game. That Light Cone was carrying him for sure, because when he actually released, he was not looking as good as he looked in that Light Cone. So I'm gonna pick Lynx here. Sunday versus Kalis. I think I go Kalis here. Oh, Anaxa versus Aglaya. I love Aglaya so much, but they're setting her up. Aglaya would win against almost any other Crisis Heir, but Anaxa is the one that I don't think she can win, so I'm gonna go with Anaxa. Aglaya versus Mighty. This is another very tough one. I love them both very much. I think I like Aglaya more. I like Aglaya's character design design more, and I'm just very endeared towards her. So I'm gonna go Aglaya here. Mighty versus Tribby. I love the both of them very much, but we're gonna go Mighty, but I do really love Tribby. Maybe if it was Trianne, I would have picked her. No, I'm joking. Tribby versus Casterus. I'm gonna go Tribby. I'm more endeared towards Tribby. Sorry, Cypher, they set you up. It's fine on. Ooh, Saber versus Cypher. I kind of want to lean towards Cypher, because within HSR itself, she was just so goated, you know? So I think I'm gonna go Cypher. Hyacinth versus Saber. Oh, this is tough. I think this one's Saber, just because of my previous attachment to Saber from Fate. Archer versus Hyacinth. I think it's Archer. Oh my god, this one's so hard, because I love Saridra so much. Saridra, go up against like a bunch of different people and you will win. But I think this one in particular, I have to give it to Dan Heng. Yeah, Saridra can beat Cyrene. There you go. Evernight beats Cyrene. Cyrene beats Hyslins. I think Hyslins beats Dahlia. Hyslins has more stuff that I'm attached to. Mainly Hyslins' relationship to Saridra. Dahlia doesn't really have something like that I'm attached to. Japard versus Yenching. Now, as much as I love Yenching, Japard has the cheat code, right? Because character design. So I'm gonna pick Japard. Yenching versus Serval. I do think I actually pick Yenching here. Just because of his character development, I like more. Blade versus Jing Yuan. I like Jing Yuan more by quite a bit. Aventurine over Black Swan. Acheron over Black Swan. Gallagher over Black Swan. Oh, Robin versus Black Swan. I think Black Swan has the more fun personality again. So I'm gonna go Black Swan for that. Robin versus Mikhail. I think I'm gonna go Robin. I'm gonna go Michelle over Boot Hill. I'm gonna go Ratio over Boot Hill. I'm gonna go Sparkle over Boot Hill. I'm gonna go Boot Hill over Shui. Kalis over Fei Xiao, unfortunately. Stell over Fei Xiao. Fei Xiao over Yunli. March over Yunli. Moza over Yunli. Jiaoqiu over Yunli. Yunli over Rappa. Oh! A break versus break. Who's the real break fraud? I mean, thanks to Dahlia buffing Firefly so much, Rappa is low-key. I mean, Rappa's better in Perfection still, so like, they each have their game modes. Rappa's kind of just giving me nothing, you know? But is giving me nothing better than the lows of Firefly's lows? It might be. Oh, I think Firefly is better than Linksha though. I know like Linksha and Rappa were both giving me nothing, but I have more negatives with Linksha and her character design. So Sam is probably enough to carry Firefly above Linksha. Linksha versus Jade though. I like Jade's character design more is what I will say. And as much as Jade has a personality that personally icks me, I appreciate what they're going for with their character enough to appreciate it more than how much I dislike all the things they didn't do with Linksha. Like Linksha just feels like a bunch of missed opportunities, and that kind of sours the character for me. So I actually am gonna go Jade here. Anaxa versus Kalis is so difficult. I love Kalis so much, but I think I'm more attached to Anaxa and this crazy theater kid. Oh god, we're getting into the really tough ones now. Oh, I love Aglaya, but I think it's Kalis here. They're probably right next to each other. Like it probably goes Kalis and then, okay, maybe Kalis and then Dan Heng and then Aglaya, something like that. Aglaya versus Sunday. I think it is Aglaya. I think the long stretch of Amphorius where Sunday didn't really do much kind of hurt the character for me. Mighty versus Sunday. I think it's probably Sunday. Mighty versus Herta. Oh, wait, why is this one kind of hard? For a long time, Mighty would have taken this one, but Herta really came in clutch at the end of Amphorius, and she was aura farming really hard too. It might just be recency bias though. Mighty did a lot in early Amphorius, and his story was really good. And his abs, he does have abs. Okay, I'm gonna go Mighty over Herta here, but it's very tough. You are great, but again, no one's gonna beat Fainan. Dan Heng versus Cypher, it's gonna be Dan Heng. Saridra versus Cypher, it's gonna be Saridra. Oh, Cypher versus Evernight. I think I like Cypher more. I like Evernight being a yandere for March, but Cypher is just more fun. I'm gonna pick Saber over Cyrene. I'm gonna pick Archer over Cyrene. I think I do like Hyacinth more than Cyrene. Kalis versus Japard. Listen, I started the game for Japard, but Kalis has grown on me a lot, and the character archetype of Kalis, I just really like it, so I'm gonna pick Kalis. Kalis, Dan Heng. Oh, Jing Yuan versus Dill. I know it'll sound weird. I think the other two Dan Hengs will be higher than Jing Yuan, but I think this Dan Heng specifically will be lower, just because of character design. Aventurine over Kalis, as tough as that is. Kalis over Acheron. Acheron over Stell. Gallagher over Stell. Stell over Black Swan. Fei Xiao over Black Swan. March. Probably Black Swan. Oh, Buhil gives me more than Rappa at least. Shui Yi. Oh, my two loves. I mean, it's not close still. It's definitely Fainan, but I love these two so much. If I were to predict what my two favorite characters are going to be in this order, it's going to be Fainan, and then Anaxa is going to be second place. So we go Fainan, we go Anaxa, we go Kalis, we go Dan Heng from Answer to Rai, we go Aglaya, we go Saridra, we go Sunday. Oh, Mighty versus Cypher. I think Cypher has the more fun personality, but I think Mighty manages to win. Cypher over Herta, Herta over Evernight, Stell over Evernight? Evernight? Evernight over Tribby, Saber over Tribby, Archer over Tribby, Hyacin over Tribby, Tribby over Cyrene. Oh, Cyrene versus Casterus. I think I like Cyrene more, partially due to gameplay reasons. Cyrene just does more for me on my account, and that kind of has endeared me towards her more than Casterus. She also is more relevant than Casterus. Like, she did a lot more in the story. Casterus didn't do much. Ooh, Jingyuan versus Japard. I started the game for Japard, even despite knowing Jingyuan's design, but I think Jingyuan grew on me enough for him to win. I think I like his personality more too. Ooh, Finon. Okay, here's the tough one. I think these two are fighting for second and third place. I don't know who goes where. This might be one of the toughest battles of the whole thing. I legitimately don't know who's my second favorite character after Finon. If it's a Naxa or Aventurine. Well, no, I have ties disabled, and I don't want to do ties. I think Aventurine's story content in patch 3.8 and Penacony wasn't really enough, so I'm gonna go Naxa. Okay, Aventurine actually is over Kalis. This one's more meta, so the Kalises have to stick together. Danheng Permancer Terai over Acheron, Aglaya over Acheron, Ceredra over Acheron, Sunday over Acheron, Mighty over Acheron, Cypher, Herda, Stell, Acheron over Evernight, I think. Gallagher, Stell, Fei Xiao, March over Evernight. I think Aglaya actually beats Jingyuan here. Ceredra too. Jingyuan over Sunday. Dill over Sunday. Sunday over Japard, probably. Japard over Mighty, I think, funny enough. Okay, so here is how the final list looks like. We have Finon, Anaxa, and Aventurine are my top three. And then all the Kalises, low-key, they should kind of just come together. And then we have the Danhengs. Yeah, so basically top five is Finon, Anaxa, Aventurine, Kalis, Danheng. The next five, number 10 to number 14, are also in the top 10. And those are Aglaya, Ceredra, Jingyuan, Dill also counts, Sunday, and Japard. So by the way, the real top 10 is like Japard. Japard is the last one in the top 10. So from Finon to Japard is my real top 10 because Kalis and Danheng are all the same. After Japard, we have March, we have Stell and Mighty. I don't know how the Stells ended up getting separated. Like, they should all just be together, just like the Kalises are all together, but interesting. Here's some of the other Stells. Cypher, Herda, Acheron. Okay, the women start coming in around here. Yancheng made it decently high. Yeah, Yancheng's number 19, and number 20 is Fuxuan. So Fuxuan is the cutoff point for the top 20. So Japard is the cutoff point for the top 10. Fuxuan is the cutoff point for the top 20. The Fate characters made it to like 23, 24. They made it to the top 25. Most of the Crisis heirs are decently high. We have Robin, Misha, Ratio, Serval. Okay, makes sense. How did this Stell get like this desynced from the others? Blade so low, I'm crying. Yeah, Blade's down here in 30 something realistically. Cyrene is number 48. Realistically, this is more like number 40, I think. Cyrene's 39. So Silverwolf is the real number 40. Is Heislin's the lowest Chrysos heir? Boothill all the way down here. Oh, Casterus is the lowest ranking Chrysos heir, right? She's ranked lower than Heislin's. Okay. A bunch of characters now that I don't have very strong feelings for. Pella, yep. Firefly actually was all the way down here, but she wasn't last. Okay, Firefly is still beating out Jade. Topaz also very low. Both the IPC girlies being this low, but then Aventurine being this high is very funny. And then the last three, Herda, Sampo, and Lingsha are the bottom three. I'm kind of not surprised by that. I don't have anything against Herda, honestly. There's just nothing really endearing me to her. There's at least something I like more in every other character above her than Baby Herda, so. He did Lingsha mega dirty. There's just nothing I like about Lingsha. I don't know. And I have beef with her story presence and character design. That just kind of makes me not like her. Okay, so there's my list. So from Finon to Lingsha is how I rate characters. So you can tell me, on a scale of Finon to Lingsha, how do I feel about this character? That's the new bar for me. So that is my tier list from Finon to Lingsha. There's not much here that surprises me. Honestly, this makes a lot of sense for me. Like, if I were to guess the placement of my characters before I did this, it probably would have looked something like this. I would have guessed most of the top 10 and probably most of the bottom as well. And then it gets a little muddled in the middle, but it's interesting to see where each character ended up landing for me. So this was a lot of fun. This HSR character sorter thing will be in the description below. So click on that if you want to play this game and share your results in the comments below. I would love to hear your results, which characters were in your top 10 and which characters were in your bottom 10, or just your top 5, bottom 5, whichever way you want to share it. It would be a lot of fun. Let's see if there's any overlap between us or those of you in the comments. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, and until next time!